A new narrative circulating online describes two fronts of the same pressure campaign, the sea lanes and the tree line. The source claims Ukraine used unmanned systems to disrupt Russian logistics and to target troops sheltering in wooded areas. Many details remain difficult to independently verify from the text alone. Start with the broader claim. Concealment is becoming less reliable. The account says Russian soldiers are increasingly reacting to nearby FPV drones not with movement, but with stillness, clinging to cover, staying low, and attempting to blend into the environment. The source interprets this as desperation rather than strategy, and suggests these efforts rarely change the outcome. Then there's the maritime episode. According to the text, Ukrainian Sea Baby maritime drones tracked what it calls a shadow vessel carrying a large cargo toward Russia. The source says the ship was under sanctions, lacked legal grounds to deliver goods, and was sailing under the flag of the Comoros Islands while attempting to bypass restrictions. It claims Ukrainian Security Service maritime drones struck the vessel and critically damaged the rear section, preventing delivery of the cargo. These assertions are significant, but the text provides no independent documentation beyond the narrative itself. Back on land, the account returns to the human scale of this war. Seconds, not hours. One described incident involves a soldier near a road in an area said to have once been residential. The source claims he tried to avoid detection by holding an unnatural, already dead posture. Another account describes a soldier abandoning a motorcycle and bracing for impact, as if deciding that motion would only worsen the odds. The text presents both as examples of how quickly FPV threats compress decision-making. The narrative also describes a more methodical layer. Thermal-equipped drones used to spot movement under tree cover, followed by rapid targeting. Coordinates, the source says, were passed to headquarters, and strike drones were dispatched. It frames this as a cycle: detect, relay, strike, repeated until movement stops. Operating in dense woodland is portrayed as risky even for the drones. The account notes that branches and brush can damage propellers, raising the cost of each mission. Still, it claims that in the cases described, the drones reached their targets without being wasted, implying careful piloting and route selection, though that characterization remains the author's conclusion. The source then shifts to armored losses. It describes a Russian BMP being hit by a mine, followed by a drone strike that sets the vehicle burning. After that, it claims drones targeted infantry who exited the vehicle. The account continues with additional vehicle losses, naming Russian BRM vehicles as later targets. It also mentions the destruction of an ammunition depot and a Mavic drone on the same day, without specifying location or corroborating evidence. Several short vignettes emphasize panic and split-second betrayal. In one described moment, two soldiers are in an open field. The source says one knocks the other down and runs, leaving the other exposed. In another, a soldier attempting to bring supplies is intercepted. The text frames these as patterns. Movement draws attention, and once the drone is close, options collapse. The narrative also highlights smaller but tactically relevant targets. It claims operators managed to destroy a camera, something it notes is hard to locate, calling it a rare success. It describes dugouts and field storage sites believed to contain supplies, and says these were struck after recent movement was detected. One cache is described as a camouflaged ammunition stash that, according to the source, was still identified and destroyed. Power infrastructure appears in the list as well. The text mentions a generator that had been providing electricity to Russian troops and says it was rendered unusable. It then describes a soldier trying to outrun a drone by removing his body armor, only to be found later in a trench after several failed attack attempts. As presented, the point is not precision, it's persistence. Near the end, the account describes a bunker strike with a large explosion, interpreting that as a sign of stored ammunition. It also includes a memorable detail: a soldier compared to Batman, wearing a cape-like covering, evading one attempt before being tracked near a tree. The narrative closes by returning to the same setting it started with, another dugout in the forest, reinforcing its core message that the tree line is no longer a guarantee of safety. Bottom line, the source paints a picture of drone warfare that is both tactical and psychological, maritime interdiction on one hand and relentless close-range pressure on the other. But without independent confirmation, the specific outcomes and sequence of events should be treated as claims, not established fact. The first moment will feature a Russian soldier acrobat who decided to show what he was capable of, but jumped into infinity. The next one decided to run away, and this one decided to sleep, thinking it would be safe there. Several others tried to destroy the Ukrainian drone with automatic weapons, but none of them hit their target. Next, a pair. One Russian soldier decides to kick the FPV, but the result is obvious. The next two got lost in the middle of the field. Another occupier decided to just freeze, perhaps imagining that he was invisible. This rarely happens, but once a year a Russian soldier hits a drone. Although it did not help him, the drone still managed to complete its mission. The Russian command abandoned the next occupier near Pokrovsk. He was forced to decide for himself what to do. But before he could come up with a plan, a Ukrainian pilot found him. Although the soldier opened fire, he failed to hit his target, and the FPV successfully took him out. This same pilot received information that another Russian soldier was hiding nearby in the bushes. The UAV operator immediately launched a strike drone to reach the target as quickly as possible. He didn't have to fly very far. Right in the next bushes, the pilot spots an occupier sitting and waiting for a gift from the Ukrainian army. In this case, Ukrainian pilots detected the movement of a Russian MTLB with paratroopers. After the first strike, they managed to significantly slow down the armored vehicle, after which Russian soldiers began to run out of it unplanned, and kamikaze drones were immediately launched at them. The next target, the Type 63 MLRS, which the Russians tried to hide. And then the destruction of the enemy's antenna for communication with UAVs, as well as a Russian military boat in the middle of the river, and then again Russian soldiers on motorcycles. They are trying to gather in certain areas of the front, but they are not succeeding because Ukrainian drones operate frequently and accurately, and no occupier will be able to leave here unharmed and unscathed. Two more on motorcycles. They're driving fast, but they can't get away. The drone is moving even faster. And here is the result of the work. Next on your screens, a large number of motorcycles abandoned by Russian soldiers. When they realize that they will not survive if they continue riding their motorcycles, they simply abandon them wherever they can and run to find shelter to have at least some chance of survival. But more often than not, they have no chance. These two turned out to be not very smart. They simply bumped into each other and fell down, after which the drone attacked, but they managed to escape. Then the pilot launched a second one, which managed to neutralize one of them. Heat. Ukrainian FPV drones hunt Russian drones that sit on logistics routes to hunt down evacuation groups and transport supplies for Ukrainian soldiers. Every enemy drone destroyed is a Ukrainian soldier's life potentially saved, or sometimes several. It also preserves transport and supplies that are vital on the front line. In this case, a unique duel between a Ukrainian fiber-optic drone and a Russian fiber-optic drone. Footage from the Ukrainian drone. And finally, enjoy this video of Ukrainian kamikaze strike drones from the Ivan Franko Group unit. They work every day, bringing Ukraine closer to victory. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Good luck.